The European Court of Human Rights has ruled against the lawsuit of a terminally ill man who's seeking the right to die in Hungary. Daniel Karsai has ALS, an incurable disease of the nervous system. He began his legal action against his government last year, but today the court found Hungary's ban on euthanasia does not breach the European Convention on Human Rights. DW met Daniel ahead of today's verdict.
I can't do anything independently anymore. Dress, undress, eat, drink, or turn over in bed.
ALS makes Daniel's life harder day by day. His diagnosis with the nervous system disease shocked him. He often thinks about the active life he once had. One of his passions was the Japanese martial art jiu-jitsu. In this video, he was fighting for the brown belt. He used to work as a constitutional lawyer, and as a renowned expert, he regularly gave TV interviews on human rights issues. Nowadays, he is only mentally active, but he's decided to fight to make assisted suicide legal in Hungary, in the media and also in front of the court. He argues that ALS is extremely humiliating, as the last stage of the disease practically leaves a person in a vegetative state, without any possibility of conscious activity or communication.
When it comes to no longer being able to communicate with my loved ones, it's a feeling of confinement, without any meaning, and therefore without any dignity.
The hero, the fighter, this is what they call him in the Hungarian press. His example started a new debate about assisted suicide in Hungarian public discourse.
It's great that it moves so many people, but it's sad that a significant part of the political elite remains silent.
That is why he took his case to the European Court of Human Rights, suing the Hungarian state. For the first hearing in November 2023, he was still able to travel to Strasbourg. He gave the first arguments in his case. He knows the court well. He used to work there in the early 2000s.
I am not the only one facing this dark stage of life. Among the people like me, dying peacefully is only a privilege for the few.
Daniel's brother Peter has always been close to his brother. He says he'd be ready to help with the assisted suicide if Daniel wanted it, and it were legal.
We don't feel like we're miserable, always sitting in the corner and crying because Danny is terminally ill, because there's always something to do. In my case, it distracts us from the drama we experience every day.
Daniel hopes with his case he can also help others.
But as we heard, Daniel Karsai lost his case. Let's bring in Dr. Stevie Martin, who lectures in public law at the University of Cambridge. She specialises in human rights law and medical law. Welcome to DW, Doctor. Can you explain why the court rejected Mr. Karsai's challenge to Hungary's ban on assisted suicide?
Yes, well, in the decision, which is not entirely unexpected, the court reiterated that states have a very wide area of discretion within which they can determine how to regulate end-of-life practices. And they confirmed that states are able to permit assistance in dying, but also that states are able to criminalise assistance in dying, as Hungary continues to do so.
And so what are the risks of error and abuse in the legal provision of physician-assisted dying that the court cited?
So the court referred to a number of the key arguments that are made in debates surrounding assistance in dying, in particular the need to protect individuals who are vulnerable to being compelled to access assistance in dying when they otherwise would choose not to, as well as several other objectives, so including protecting the doctor-patient relationship and noting social values and morals as well. And it in that sense, reaffirmed what it had held in previous cases concerning access to assistance in dying.
And some countries, a small number, do allow assisted dying. Is there evidence from those countries that supports the dangers of these risks?
Certainly there is data that is available from jurisdictions that permit assistance in dying of potential risks, but there's also a wealth of data that demonstrates that a carefully regulated system that allows for assistance in dying can operate safely and to the benefit of individuals like Mr. Karsai and others who would like to access assistance in dying and exercise their self-determination and control over their deaths.
And it's interesting that one of the points that you raised there were the norms within a particular society, because, of course, this is a very contentious issue generally.
Yes, absolutely. And that's something that the court reiterated. It noted that there is a growing or emerging trend towards legalising some forms of assistance in dying, in particular assisted suicide, but also emphasised that still the majority of states within the Council of Europe and member states of the Convention do not permit assistance in dying. And as a result, that court, being a supranational court, needs to give a wide area of discretion or a wide margin of appreciation to states to determine how they would like to control or regulate end-of-life practices. And that's why we have situations in which some countries, such as Belgium and the Netherlands, permit assistance in dying in quite broad ways, and other countries, such as England or Hungary, continue to prohibit assistance in dying completely.
Right. But this ruling, does this ruling preclude someone in Hungary, like the case that we saw there, does this preclude him from travelling elsewhere where this would be legal?
So under Hungarian law, that is unlawful. And so from a domestic perspective, there would be potential implications for those that assist him in travelling to, for instance, Switzerland or another jurisdiction that permits assistance in dying. But from a convention perspective, so in terms of rights, those countries that would enable Mr. Karsai to access assistance in dying would not be violating rights under the convention in doing so.
Thank you for talking us through that so clearly, Dr. Stevie Martin from the University of Cambridge. Thank you so much.
Thank you.